Hey everyone, welcome back to another Bridge the Gap podcast episode. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Scott.
And we just wanted to say thank you guys for staying with us last week through a relatively difficult topic.
Yes.
Caused a little bit of feedback on TikTok especially. But if you guys came from a clip, watched the whole thing, and formed your own opinion afterwards, I commend you for that, and I thank you for that.
Right.
We know it was a harder topic, but we said at the beginning of this podcast, that's the whole point of this, is we're not shying away from the things that may be scary to talk about. So we thank you guys for sticking strong, and we're going to continue the conversation a little bit, I think, but we're going to try to keep it a little lighter this week, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Well, listen, I think we would have done a disservice if we didn't address 9/11 or the assassination of Charlie Kirk. If we didn't, then I think we wouldn't be good at what we're trying to do, right? Which is two generations talking about things that maybe normal dad and daughter don't, right? I mean, I don't know how many of your friends are talking to their parents about the Charlie Kirk assassination or 9/11 or media or abortion or school or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, that was the whole point, is we wanted to provide an environment where people could watch this and say, oh, dang, yeah, maybe I should talk to my dad about it, or my mom, or my daughter, or my son. I mean, it's what we wanted to do, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, that's the whole point of it. So it is interesting, though, for everyone to know, I do the Facebook postings, and so I see how many views, and every post that we did with last week's episode, including today, I did one this morning, has 150, 200 views, whatever, pretty average. Over time, they get into 3s, 4s, 5s, etc. But nobody comments on them. No one comments, which I guess that's because it's my generation, I guess, because I get all the juicy comments from you because you do the TikTok and Instagram one. So
yeah, Instagram, they behave themselves, but TikTok, we've gotten quite a few comments, and we did a segment on it in the past where I read hate comments, and I was like, like, guys, right? I mean, there was one comment I will highlight from the 9/11 segment where we talked about how it didn't matter, like, who you were sleeping with, like, we all came together. Someone pointed out that Muslim hate rose during that time, which is completely fair, and we didn't even think about that or talk about it. So that was a fair thing to bring up.
Right. And it's interesting, too, because I looked it up. It's a great point, and I remember that, right? But, and listen, I'm not going to pretend to know what it was like, because I'm not Muslim, and I'm not there, right? But it did say that it was a sharp and sustained increase in violence against Muslims, Arabs, Sikhs, and others perceived to be Muslim. Mm-hmm. And they reported a 1,600% increase in anti-Muslim incidents compared to the previous year. That's, when you think about that, you're like, holy shnikes, that's like a huge number. But we don't know what the numbers were like before that, right? So if there was one incident in 2000 and then it rose 1,600%, well, then it's 160, right? Not discrediting the impact that those 160 or more had. But it was interesting because it was an emotional reaction, right?
Yeah.
To something that had never happened to us before, not at that scale, right? So certainly not condoning it at all.
No.
But perspective and hindsight, it goes back to what I keep saying, and it even leads to what we were just talking about, emotional reactions over rational thinking, right?
Yes.
If you've ever been in any type of leadership role, you should read Emotional Intelligence. Little plug for the author. I have it right up here in my office. And it's about not reacting emotionally. After 9/11, obviously, there was a lot of emotional reactions. And that's not good. It wasn't good then. It's not good now. And it also leads into what you were saying. People are emotionally reacting to some stuff that we're posting on a 30-second clip. It's like, it's a 45-minute episode. And anything can sound bad. Anything can sound not accurate if you take it out of context and you just watch a little blurb, right? And I think, speaking of Charlie Kirk or 9/11 or anything, all of the stuff that you hear is because people haven't taken the time to actually watch the whole thing or learn about the whole thing, right? And so we encourage you guys, thank you for watching the clips, we appreciate it, but go back and watch the episode, because if you took this one clip and I said, we don't know if there was only one Muslim crime in 2000, so 1,600% increase is really not that big. You could mold that to make me sound like a complete insensitive racist ass, right? But if you watch it, you know what I'm talking about. So it's like
context is key.
Context is key, very key. And that leads into, I guess, media in general, right? It boggles me because, I grew up 70s, 80s, early 90s, right? And I don't remember news being the way it is now. Of course, nothing's the way it was back then, now, really. But it's just so unfortunate because the whole clickbait culture, the whole grabbing headlines, you have 30-second attention spans, even less with TikTok, right? Like, how long is the average TikTok video? It's like 10 seconds.
The average TikTok is about 60 seconds, I would say, 30 to 60 seconds.
Okay.
It used to just be 15 seconds because that was like Musical.ly. It's like Musical.ly is really short, quick. I think shortening the attention span, though, goes all the way back to Vine, which you have no idea what that is. But
I have no idea what that is.
That was like the original like short clip media, social media like content. You posted 7 seconds worth of content.
Good Lord.
It was the greatest thing ever. Like, Ryan and I quote them all the time, even though he wasn't even alive. But that's where I think it started to go down. And then Musical.ly, 15 seconds. And now TikTok, I mean, people post whole movies on there. It's great.
Right.
But yeah, it's great. It is unfortunate. It is unfortunate. And we've talked before. I remember when I first came to you guys about changing my major. And I was like, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. And you guys were like, but you love doing media. And for anyone who doesn't know, before I switched to criminal justice, I was a PR communications major. I did the news program in high school. We've talked a little bit about that. And I really loved it. But as I started taking classes in college, and I saw how biased news is, and then I started to fully watch news because that was what I was going to be doing. I didn't like the fact that it was obvious these reporters were reporting what the studio wanted and not the truth of the matter. They gave you the facts, but with the left wing or right wing lens. And as a journalist, I always believed the whole point was to deliver the truth to the people, not what you want them to take from it, not what you think they should take from it. It's here's the facts, here's where we go from here, read it. Like, that's what I always thought. And so once I saw it was not that way anymore, I was like, I feel like I'd be doing a disservice by continuing down that path than the service that journalism is supposed to be to the people.
Yeah, it's that's obviously there's media bias, obviously. If anybody's watching this and thinks there's not, then I just tell you to get out of your cave and and join the real world, right? And it's both sides. It's not just one. However, I would say the majority, it leans one way more than the other, whether it's ESPN and getting rid of Sage Steele because she was conservative and had conservative views, or Megyn Kelly getting fired from NBC. There's been a lot of people that haven't been able to adapt to the way news media is now, right? And it's a shame because it's almost 100% editorial, right?
Yes.
And when I grew up, I mentioned Dan Rather before to you, and Peter Jennings, and I think Walter Cronkite was doing the news even when I was like little still. Mm-hmm. And they just reported the news, right? Like, this is what's going on in the world. This is the result. And we're going to go on to the next story. Even local news was like that. And they all had editorial people, right? 60 Minutes had, damn, I'm drawing a blank, Rooney, who took like the last 5 minutes and had a whole 5-minute commentary on and an editorial, right? And now 60 Minutes just lost a defamation lawsuit because they're manipulating what they're reporting to be untruthful, right? And it's just such a disappointing state, coupled with the fact that nobody has the attention span to try and find the actual real story. And so you have this whole system that is designed to not provide us the information, further the clickbait culture, further the false reporting, and then they get pissed when they're held accountable for it. And it's like, dude, there's accountability to doing the right thing and doing the wrong thing. Like, that's how it always is, right? Your mom was telling me a story today about a girl that needed her mom, and she texted her mom from class. And for those of you that don't know, in the state of South Carolina, it's illegal to use your cell phone during school hours. If you have an issue, you have to do it old school, like my generation did. Go down to the office.
And my generation did for up until about freshman year of high school.
Okay, yeah, but you went through high school with your phone. Yeah. So
I still had to go to the office and the nurse.
You have to go to the office and call your mom or dad, or you go to the nurse and they call your mom or dad. And so the mom flipped out on your mom, just so pissed off about the law and everything. And your mom goes, lady, whatever her name is, nutso. If your daughter's speeding down the road and she gets pulled over and gets a ticket, she has to be held accountable for it. Like, that's accountability. Same thing here. Like, I have to let your daughter know that she can't do that. And this is her warning. And the mom flipped out, like yelled at her.
And it was a warning.
It's
like,
a warning.
At least it was, I know. So mom told me the story, and I know the reason why she texted her mom. Completely valid.
No, it's a new one. It just happened today.
Oh.
New one. Yeah, totally
She was just telling me one about like 2 days ago. That was the exact same.
Week. Yeah.
Wow. Well.
So, I talk about, I just want to, it's disappointing that news has gone the way it is. It's disappointing that we as a culture and a society, or as a generation, more so your generation and younger than my generation, have evolved to this 30 seconds and I can make all my decisions based on that 30 minutes. And then the lack of accountability towards it, right? So everybody's up in arms about the Jimmy Kimmel thing. And I mentioned Dan Rather. He got fired in 2006 for misrepresenting a story on George Bush. He got fired for it. Nobody protested. There wasn't any Hollywood fucking speeches at the Emmys about boycotting the employer, because nobody wants to be held accountable for doing what's right? Like, it's just ridiculous. And I will say, from my perspective, it is, until we can start holding ourselves accountable and we can slow ourselves down to truly invest in understanding things, whether it's sports, media, politics, social issues, whatever, then we're just going to keep going down this hole. And I don't know how to get out of it. I mean, I read an article today. Bruce Dickinson said he is so tired of seeing cell phones at their concerts. Now, mind you, these guys are in their late 60s, early 70s. They're still touring. Iron Maiden, if anybody doesn't know who Bruce Dickinson is, he's the singer. And he said, the phone will be the downfall of our civilization by far. He said, because people are so consumed with what's in the phone as opposed to what's going on around them. And I was like, yeah, he gets it. I feel totally the same way. So I'll get off my soapbox now. It's just disappointing that people they can come to conclusions and be so steadfast in their decisions based on 30 seconds or based on lack of understanding or lack of accountability or lack of due diligence to understand. It's just crazy.
So I definitely agree with, you talked for so long. I'm trying to remember everything that you said.
That's mean.
You did. You started rambling, Dad. You started, and God forbid I just have good sound bites. Don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Okay.
But I do agree that the attention span is an issue. I agree that phones are an issue. I don't fully agree that it's fully my generation. I think your generation had a big part of that as well. Because if you look on the news, all the reporters are what generation? Yours. The younger journalists are starting to get mixed in there. But in order to get to the big stations like ABC, NBC, you have to be doing a lot of bitch work for a while. So it's when I turn on the news, I'm not looking at a 24-year-old. I'm looking at a 54-year-old. They're reporting to me. So I don't think that our generation is the only one that's the issue here. Fair. I think it's starting. Also, a lot of my generation is still young. We're still impressionable. And it's on the older generations to make sure that this doesn't happen. But it's everywhere. So you and Mom did a fantastic job of making sure Ryan and I are very neutral. We look at both sides before forming an opinion. We do our research, don't just read the headline, all that kind of stuff. But then when I turn on the news and they're just reading headlines and then yelling at each other across the damn table because they don't agree with each other on live television, I'm like, what is this teaching anybody? Like, right. I don't even know what's going on. All I can do is see the headline and then you guys yelling at each other. So right. It's like, I do think it's a worldwide issue, age-wide issue versus just like the young versus the old. You know what I'm saying? Which I'm not saying you're old. You guys are right in the in-between, but but I think it's just a modern day people issue other than generation versus generation.
Yeah. Okay.
Because we learned how to use our electronics from you guys.
Yeah, but when I was your age, we didn't have cell phones. I mean,
I know
they existed,
but you had a cell phone before I did.
Well, yeah, you were
exactly. Point made. I learned how to use my electronics from you guys.
I don't know if that's where I would go with that. To be honest with you, I would like to see what the age demographic of these media are, of the media programmer directors, because and the editors, right?
Yeah.
Just because the news anchor is my age doesn't mean the news anchors, they don't approve what gets reported and how it gets reported, right? So I'll have to do some research on that one. Mm-hmm. I think culturally we've evolved, to your point, to this place, which I don't think is a good place. And I know it wasn't my parents' generation that led us there, even though it was someone closer to their generation that invented the iPhone, right? And it wasn't my generation that invented Facebook. It was the generation between you and I, whatever one that is.
The millennials.
Yeah, the millennials. Maybe we blame them. I don't know.
Always blame millennials, to be fair.
Jim Jeffries, the Australian comedian, he has a whole bit on millennials. You all can fuck off. I can't stand any of you. And don't watch all the millennials will freak out. But
except for my aunt and uncle, they're cool. Yeah. My aunt and uncle are cool. They're millennials, but I like them.
Yeah, so maybe
they're cool.
So maybe it's them. I don't know.
That's a weird age group, though.
It's just, I don't know. I think it's sad. Getting back to you were really good at what you did, and we were disappointed that you wanted to go away from it. Because there was an opportunity for you to go against the grain too, right? And be like a Megyn Kelly or a Sage Steele or somebody that
people are dying.
Well, now, yeah, that's a sad thing to say.
Yeah, journalists are going missing and dying. Like, I'm not.
So it, it leads me to this. Like, because I think one of the conversations you and I had, I was like, well, you can stay in it and be one of the voices for the others, right? Like, you could go against it. You can challenge the norm. You can challenge the mass push for one side of the agenda. Mm-hmm. Which I think would have put you in a unique position, kind of like this podcast, right? Like we couldn't find any father-daughter podcast when we started looking into this, right? So you would have found a niche possibly. So we did have that conversation, but it leads me to this because I've heard about this, especially in colleges, where teachers are so one-sided or one-dimensional that students don't feel like they have the ability to express themselves. So did you ever feel pressure from teachers to only report on one side or only from one perspective? Did they not encourage free thinking? Like, did you experience that? Because I don't think I know the answer to that.
Yes. Ugh. I experienced it, I think, not as much now that I'm a criminal justice major, because criminal justice is criminal justice. Like, here's the facts. This is it. It's literally how well can you follow the law? Like, that's what criminal justice is. So, but when I was in media, I remember one time I was writing a paper, and it was a persuasive paper. And as I was writing it, I wrote a great paper too, and it was my opinion. And halfway through, sat back and I read the rubric again, and here's what you should do. Here's the prompt. I just kind of realized that if I turned in a paper in this perspective, I was going to get scored unfairly. And so I redid it. And the good thing, like we talked about looking at both sides, I was always able to examine both sides and find an argument within both.
Yeah.
So I still wrote a great paper. I got an A on it. It was fine, but it wasn't what I believed in. It was what I had to write to know to get the grade. And it's not like they'll say free speech. They'll say, speak your mind. We're all friends in here. But there's a consistent group of individuals who will consistently raise their hand in class, and a group that does not.
I could be I could put us on big clickbait right now.
It's okay, but don't. I'm already telling the story. But there's a clear divide in what is actually allowed in the classroom. I think the first time I experienced it, though, you remember my 10th grade English teacher. She was a nightmare. Remember, she wrote home to mom about how I was disrespectful, and mom was like, leave her alone.
Right.
But she was the first one. It was back in 2020. No, that was my junior year. So 2020.
No, sophomore, junior.
Yeah, the end of... Okay, so I think, yes, because I had her in the spring of my sophomore year. So yeah, 2021. So for my school district, whoops. They removed the requirement of masks in the classroom. And so me and 3 other friends, we went to school without masks on. We were the only 4 people in that entire English class that didn't have a mask on.
Which is
crazy. But from that day forward, she treated the 4 of us very differently. Very differently. Constantly watching us, calling us out, even if we weren't doing anything wrong. And I'm going to pat myself on the back for a second. English is my strength. And if you know me at all, you know it's my strength. All I do is read and write, really. That's what I do. When people ask, what do you like to do in your free time? And normal people my age are like, I love to go out with friends. I'm like, I like to sit inside with a book or watch Harry Potter. I love literature. And so...
And you're writing a book right now.
Yes. And we're doing Gothic literature at this time, like Edgar Allan Poe. my like favorite like era of writing, right?
Yeah.
So I don't remember the question, but I remember she asked a question. So I raised my hand, like, I got this. She calls on me. I give my response. She goes, not quite. Picks on someone else. Dad, they said the same shit I did, just reworded.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, exactly. That's the point you've all been missing. And I was like, and I remember looking over at my friends. I was like, did I not just say that?
Yeah.
And she failed one of my essays, which I have never in my life failed an essay. And when I asked her, I got a 56. I remember to this day her putting it on my desk, and I went, like, I didn't barely fail it. I failed it. And I remember looking at it, and I asked her after class, I was like, so what the hell? And she claimed it was my grammar. And I was like, but it's not, because you only mark 2 points off for grammar. And I ran it through Grammarly to make sure it was good.
Right.
And she couldn't give me an explanation. And so that's when I just gave up in that class. And it, like, thank God it didn't kill my like passion for English.
Right.
But yeah, that was the first time I experienced something like that in school anyway, where I was like, okay, this is more than she just doesn't like me. This is personal. And that's when I kind of realized it was down to politics. So
yeah, that's so ridiculous. Like it's
like 16 years old.
Yeah, it's so crazy to me because I was just reading a story the other day. I can't remember where I saw it. I can't cite it, but I remember being so disgusted by it. And it's a deeper issue, but it does go back to teachers and impressionable. That was a terrible way that I enunciated that.
Impressionable?
Yes, minds, right? And before I go, I just want everyone to know there's teachers all throughout my family. My sister, her husband, cousins, aunts, uncles. I mean, I've all of them, right?
I was almost a teacher too.
Right. So
that's a story for another day as well.
So it's not all teachers. I'm not saying it is, but she was talking about, she taught elementary school. It was elementary school. And she was of one type of teacher that you can envision. And a kid came up and asked her about her sexuality. And I don't know the content. I can't remember if they were talking about it in class and the kid had a question afterwards, or if the kid came up out of the blue. I can't remember, but none of that's important. My point is, she addressed it and said, come back after class or like after recess and we can talk about it or something. And I was like, what? No, your answer should be like, no, that's inappropriate. Talk to your parents.
What?
And if you can't talk to your parents, then we have counselors here. We can go down there and you can talk to a counselor about something. But she addressed it and she talked about it. She elaborated into who she sleeps with. So I think she was like bisexual or something. And I was like so disgusted by it. And so I know that's kind of a large leap to go from what you just said to what I'm saying, but it all comes back around to why do we have to put in our own way of life into a teaching environment? You know what I mean? Like, for the life of me, I didn't know what my teachers were like outside of school. You know what I mean? Like, well, most of them didn't live in our town, right? They lived across town. So you never saw them out. And if you did, it was like seeing a fucking alien. Like, I'd be like, oh my God.
The first time I saw one of my 4th grade teachers out during the summer.
Yeah.
It was at the peach stand. I remember it so vividly because she came walking out and I went,
like I used to get nervous.
I thought I was going to get in trouble.
I wasn't a good kid when I was younger, but I didn't know.
My elementary school was just full of, she's a great student. She gets her work done. She just talks too much.
Right.
Same parent-teacher conference every time.
Every time. But like, I didn't know if they were married, if they had kids, where they lived, who their favorite political party was, or none of that shit. I didn't know any of that shit. None of it. And because that wasn't relevant to what they were there to do. Same thing with coaches, right? Like I played a pretty high level of soccer. All of my coaches for my club teams were English. I didn't even know what part of England they came from originally. You know what I mean? Like I know Andy Harrison's accent was different than Brian McNeil's, which was different than Jeff Illingsworth's, right? Like I knew they were all British, but were they from Newcastle? Were they from Southampton? I couldn't have cared less. You were there to be my coach. You need to get me better. I'm putting in the work, make me better. Same with teaching, right? Like I don't care if you're married or not. I don't care if you're gay or not. I don't care if you have kids or not. Are you a good teacher, right? Like, I had some pretty shitty teachers, and I had some really great teachers, right? None of it was determined on their social status or their social beliefs. None of it, right? Like when you're teaching me geometry, I don't care if you're gay. It's irrelevant, right? I sucked at geometry anyway. I had to take it twice because I sucked at geometry. Did fine in algebra, did fine in statistics. I struggled in geometry, right? So it just boggles my mind that people have to input their own beliefs in an environment like that, you know? And I'm not saying, listen, I took civics and economics. Economics you can't really debate, but civics there's debate, right? And we had a debate team in high school. Certainly there's topics that were worthy of discussion, but the teacher, for the life of me, Lauren, I swear to you, and I have a pretty good memory, I never remember being in a classroom in high school or younger where if we were talking about a current event, the teacher influenced the discussion because of how they felt. Like they didn't. They just encouraged conversation, you know? And so it just blows me away that a teacher would single-handedly call you out. Even though masks weren't required anymore, you were free to make that decision. And they're going to judge you for it. And it's going to affect the way that they teach you. Or media, right? You have to write your paper with this perspective only. Otherwise, I'm going to give you a lesser grade, right? Like,
and it didn't say that explicitly, but I could tell by reading the prompt and like how the class was prior to the assignment being due. I was like, okay, I know what's expected of me. Yeah. And I agree with most of what you said. It's just funny because I knew if my teachers had kids in elementary school only because when the bell rang, their kid would come walking into the classroom. And so that's really the only way I'd know.
Right.
But as you got into like middle school, high school is when like they'd start to put pictures of their families up. So that's when I kind of knew. Or like my 8th grade social studies teacher, he had a picture of his wife on his desk, but then he'd like talk about her a little bit because she was an educator as well, just not in the school district. So, but he encouraged conversation that was fair game. And that was one of the best classes I've ever had. And I think that teachers should be a little more human to their students in a sense that it can create kind of almost like a comfortable family environment, right? So like high school, you've got all these kids. You've got the jocks, you've got the nerds, you've got the theater kids, you've got the news kids, you've got the art kids, you've got the, like the popular girls, like it's a mixing pot and they're all in this 30-person classroom and you have to get them to get along, right? So I think at that point, it's a good thing to kind of be a human to your students so then your students can be human towards each other and not just like, oh, well, he's doing the play, I'm not going to talk to him, because like there are those biases, and whether or not we want to act like we're not biased towards people based on their interests, we are. It's what humans do. And so I mean, some of the teachers that I had created such a comfortable environment that I looked forward to school for that one class because it was like my family in a classroom, like my little home away from home. And we could talk to each other, disagree with each other, but we all had each other's backs. And that's something I do like about school now, and like teachers kind of being more human as they create that environment for those who need to feel comfortable in a room, right?
Yeah.
Those who are a little insecure, don't have a good home life, they can come here and feel okay and confident in themselves. Do I think we should be discussing their sex life? Absolutely not. And I think it's extremely too far if you are having that conversation with anybody below the age of 16 years old. Because
I would go even higher.
Well, in the state of South Carolina, you're a legal adult at 16. You can emancipate and drop out of school without your parents' permission.
Fair enough.
But so that's why in the state of South Carolina, that's why I said 16. But ridiculous.
Yeah. And listen, I mean, maybe I was a little extreme, but like I only really recognized, like I recognized it in fourth grade, right? Because my teacher got married during Christmas break, right? So she changed her last name. So I was like, oh, she's married, right? I remember I was 10, 9, whatever I was, right? But the teachers before that, I couldn't tell you. Kindergarten, first, second grade, third grade. I mean, Miss Fogarty was my third grade teacher. She was nice, I think. I don't have a whole, like she didn't stand out to me, right? But I never felt uncomfortable or, whatever. So the teachers did their job of providing a nurturing learning environment. It just, they didn't lead in with their bio, right? Like it was like, and I had great teachers that if we were of the same age, I would be friends with, I would think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we've gone back and visited in the past, and I've gone to lunch with a couple of my old teachers and coaches from high school and stuff. And we don't agree politically because I'm a more Republican conservative type person, fiscally conservative for sure. And they are not, they're more Democratic, but that didn't matter. And I didn't know that until I was an adult.
Yeah.
And I think some teachers feel like they have this authority or they have this obligation to interject their personal opinions into the curriculum.
Yeah.
When it shouldn't be that way. You know what I mean? I mean, my favorite teacher in the world, Mr. Dorr, and he was a lot of kids' favorite teacher. I mean, on Facebook, people still, when it's like his birthday, they'd be like, to my favorite teacher, etc. He taught oceanography. Yeah. He taught oceanography and marine biology, and he did it for the local community college, technical college. And I took him in that too. And he was great. And I knew he had kids because his name was Scott. So he always used to rag on me because of the same name. In a good way. And he drove a BMW motorcycle, which was cool as shit.
I didn't even know BMW made motorcycles.
Yeah, they're nice motorcycles too. And he did, scuba dove. That's not how you say that.
Scuba dove.
He scuba dived and took pictures, underwater photography that got published. And like I knew about them, but I didn't know, I didn't know where he lived. I didn't, I knew he had a son and I think he has a daughter too, but he didn't tell me where they went to school. I learned later that they went to a rival high school, right? But he didn't tell, like, it's irrelevant. Like, it's irrelevant. Yeah. You're there to teach something. You're there to your point, provide a good learning environment, right?
Yeah.
And why do they have to interject all this other bullshit? Because it really does detract away from creating a learning environment. To your point,
yeah,
you should be free to express opinions, especially in college. In college. Like that's what it's always been about, is you find out
who you are.
Yeah, you separate from your parents, you go somewhere new, you learn about yourself, you express opinions, you grow up. You don't grow up like to be an adult, but you grow up a lot.
Yeah.
And for anybody to think that it's their obligation to squash that or diminish that with their own agenda is just so narcissistically damaging. It just drives me crazy being a parent of someone like you that had a passion for something that lost it because of a teacher's inability to provide an environment to allow you to flourish, even if they disagreed with your point of view. Like that is ridiculous. And I remember one teacher, I took an economics class in a junior college or technical college, depending on wherever you're from. And he was from Canada. And man, he was very proud to be Canadian. And it was very interesting because in the first day, which is all about syllabus, right? It was a 3-unit class, Monday, Wednesday,
Silly
Fridays.
week.
So you're there for 50 minutes, right?
Yeah.
He spent the whole time talking about how crappy the United States was compared to Canada, both economically. He called the United States, I'll never forget him saying this, and I don't know word for word exactly, but he literally said, those of us from Canada look at the United States as like the annoying little brother. And I was like, what? Like, you're in San Diego. Like, you're not even close to the border to like defend yourself. Like, you don't have snow to go run into. Like, and I know I'm being a jackass about it, but like,
wait,
like what?
America's the younger sibling?
The annoying little brother is what he said.
What the? All right. This is going to come across really bad.
And he's teaching economics. Like, what better example of economic prosperity is there than the United States? I mean, like, right. I mean, no offense to Canada.
What the hell does Canada even do?
To be truthful, Lauren, I don't know if I think about Canada outside of hockey season. And I know that
I don't think about Canada during hockey season.
And listen, it's beautiful. I would love to travel up there and see some parts of it. It's gorgeous from what I've seen. Ottawa. Just so you know. It's in the province of Ontario. Ontario is a province.
You're lying.
I'm not lying. Like
I
Toronto,
Ontario...
Toronto's a city. Did you know Toronto is lower latitude than Detroit?
No, but I thought Ontario was a city.
No, Ontario's a province. But anyway, like, I mean, I would love to visit there. I've been there once, but it was just right over the border. But yeah, so anyway, he brought in this whole viewpoint of how much better Canada is. And, you know, and listen, at least in college, you can drop the class. And I walked right out of that class, walked down to the admin building and dropped the class, right? So, but, you know, when you're in high school or, you know, elementary school, you can't drop the class, right? Like, you have to endure this. Like, I would have hated to have that guy for my economics teacher in high school. I would have been like, I would have failed because his personal preferences were more important than the content of the subject. Like,
which is so funny because I had the opposite. I had a Canadian history teacher, and God, he was one of the best history teachers I've ever had because he was unbiased completely. Like, it was U.S. history. It was my junior year of high school. And he was so unbiased. Like, it was just, here's the facts. Here's what happened. Because regardless if it's an American teaching an American history class, we're going to be a little biased towards America. We're going to be like, yeah, Britain tried, but they didn't get very far. And then he was like, no, Britain almost beat you guys.
Right.
Like, you guys almost lost.
Yeah.
And so it's like, refreshing to have someone that's not American kind of teach the history because it's like he has no bias. He doesn't need to lie or gaslight or try to make it seem better.
Right.
He was so funny. He told us he was like he could see Detroit like from his house. Like he was just over
the border, yeah.
But he was funny. Like that's another example of creating a good class environment.
Yeah.
Because like he'd allow us to kind of make fun of him a little bit. Like every time he said A, we'd be like, we'd like tally it, like mark it down. Like
if you were older, it'd be a drinking game.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? I'm surprised me and my friends didn't turn it into a drinking game during that whole age of exploration.
Yeah.
But it was funny. And he laughed every time we marked it. Like he thought it was funny. He'd just be like, and you know, and we'd be like, oh, yep, we know.
Yep. We gotcha. That's so funny. No, see, that's great. That's a good teacher, right? Like,
yeah, he was great.
That's fantastic. And, you know, listen, like I said, I had teachers that they gave us glimpses into who they were, right? Like I said, Mr. Dorr, Mr. Dutton, I had a history teacher my freshman year. I can't remember her name, but she was at the Whiskey when the Doors played, I think in '69. So she would share that stuff, and we did a study of Pink Floyd's The Wall, right? So we had to we had to interpret what we thought that meant, and she challenged it, right? Because we're freaking 14 years old, we thought, and she's like, I don't know if that's right, and so healthy debate, right? Mr. Pacilio, I had him for freshman English. We studied, We Didn't Start the Fire by
we
Billy
did that
Joel,
8th grade history. Yeah.
And listen, they could have all been Democrats. I wouldn't be able to tell you at the time. It didn't influence their instruction.
Right.
I feel like we have a responsibility to instruct without bias.
Yes.
Or we have a responsibility to provide guidance and insight based on experience, not personal opinion or emotional responses to everything, which goes back to how we started this whole episode, which was emotionally responding to everything, which is certainly considered, I think, would be considered more than normal reactions nowadays.
Yes.
And it's disappointing, I don't know. I think it goes back, like I said, it's disappointing for me to hear your story and learn that you've felt that way a few times. And, listen, I remember the teacher, but I don't, because I traveled a lot when you were that age for work. So not that I was
the worst.
Not that I was absent. It just, I was gone during the week. So when those issues arose, your mom handled them for you and for us. It's disappointing to hear that. I haven't heard that from your brother. It's prompted me to talk to him about it because he's currently in high school. I wonder what kind of perspectives he has.
Well, and he's just a quieter person too. It's like, I came home that day. I remember I was raging. And I immediately brought it up to Mom. Ryan's more of a, well, if they don't email Mom, it doesn't matter. Like,
right.
he doesn't.
He'll weather the storm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, well, listen, we talked a little bit about everything. It started about clickbait and attention spans, and then that formed into forming an opinion so damn quickly, which then went into biases and teaching and
education.
I mean, I learned something from you today, which is great. Hopefully you learned a little bit about me and my teachers, because I don't think I've ever told you about any of my teachers. It was just,
I recognize Miss Fogarty. I think you've said her name before. The 3rd grade. I don't know. I don't remember the story, but the name was really familiar.
Yeah, and I never got in a big trouble in her class. It was after that I got in a lot of trouble.
Well, maybe that's why you remember her so well.
Yeah, maybe. Like 4th grade wasn't too bad. 5th grade, I got in trouble. Mr. Bell, I was in trouble a lot with him. And then middle school was a disaster for me. Holy crap. Miss Mayfield in 7th grade, I got in trouble every day with her. I think my name was Xerox on the detention sheet. I was like, I just knew I had detention every day. I was like Norm at Cheers. I'd walk in, they'd be like, Scott. I'm like, yeah. And literally, that's how I was in 7th grade detention with Miss Haley, who was the meanest looking lady. Whew. I never had her as a teacher. She just did detention. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Scary lady.
It's so funny. Like I said earlier, I was never a troublemaker. I got in trouble once, I think, once in elementary school. That is another story for another time. But I was the typical kid where I got good grades, but I could not shut the hell up in the process. Like, same parent-teacher conference every time. And my parents would tell me every single time we drove up to have it, they'd be like, we better not hear that you were talking too much. And I'd sit in that damn hallway and I'd hear the same sentence every time.
Yeah. Well, you're a talker.
But I was a good kid. Middle school, I was a good kid. And then high school, I was good. I never got in trouble, really. Yeah. I actually got quieter the older I got in school, until I started news. But then I was everywhere. But just shout out to teachers. Shout out to Miss Carol, my 4th and 5th grade GT teacher. She was fantastic, shaped me as a person.
Yeah.
My 8th grade English teacher or history teacher, Mr. Edwards, And then Mr. Dittmer, Mr. Wright in high school, they were great. Miss LaFave, love you forever and ever. She was my English teacher freshman year and my teacher cadet teacher senior year. So I got to start my high school with her and end it with her. She was great, always rooting for me. So shout out to educators. I can't remember all of mine off the top of my head right now that impacted my life, but you guys have a hard job, man. And when you guys really enjoy your job, I promise you the students can tell, and we feel it, and we carry that with us. So
yeah,
shout out to y'all. Y'all have a hard job. You guys don't get enough credit. You guys don't get paid enough to deal with the shit that you have to deal with. But shout out to y'all because you guys do make a difference, and I cannot stress enough how much of a difference you guys will make.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I named some teachers, and of course I said I started it right with knowing family or teachers and friends. So nowhere in my opinion do I discredit the profession. I just wish some people would stop with interjecting all of their personal stuff into places and just do what you're supposed to do, whether it's teachers or whatever, right? Like, and be accountable for how you think and what you think and what you look at, and just I don't know, man. Just get back to center. Like, just get back to center. Right?
Let's get zen again.
Right? Like, let's stop yelling at everybody, and let's stop talking about our sexual preferences in classrooms, and let's just teach the freaking physics class, right? Like,
right.
There's no sexuality in physics, right? Like,
no,
none.
Nope.
So
there's not sexuality in a lot of things, but it's fine.
Right? Like, so anyway, I know I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent. I apologize, but yeah, teachers. I had some really, really great teachers. I really appreciate them. I think about them often. Not so much my college professors, because it's some of them you don't even meet the professor. Good conversation.
Great conversation, a lot lighter from last week. We thank you guys again for sticking with us. We're continuing to push out episodes to y'all as much as possible. Next week will be really fun because it's my 21st birthday and next week. And so we'll have some fun stories, some stories that I'm going to learn about Dad. I'm sure he'll hear some from me that he was not ever told the full story of.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
But it'll be fun. Maybe we'll have a little drinky drink on the podcast,
I'll be down.
We'll spice it up a little bit. But
man, I got some 21-year-old, turning 21-year-old stories for you. Oh my
I have some underage stories for you.
Yeah. I have some of those too. I mean, but being that it's your 21st birthday, I'll try and keep it from 21 on. But
yeah, mine will be 21 and under because I don't have any 21 stories yet.
Well, I got some of those too, but that'll be another episode for me.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
But thank you guys again for tuning in, and we will see you guys. And go Chargers. They've been doing good too. Fly Eagles fly, Padres, Dodgers.
I know. Thank God that shirt still says San Diego, though. I can't root for the Chargers the same way now that they're LA.
Me neither, but I still root for them because Justin Herbert is an underrated quarterback. But
he's not underrated right now. He's
not right now.
He's getting
but
a lot
he
of
used
good
to
positive. Yeah, but the Padres clinched a playoff spot, so
did the Dodgers.
Dodgers.
Go both. Go both.
No.
Well, we can agree on this. Fly Eagles fly, baby.
Yes, they're doing great. They squeaked one out.
We'll see you guys next Thursday. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye, everybody. Thanks.